Hello, and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Truth podcast. I'm called Adrian. Last week, I had a discussion with Tom Barnett on the subject of health, and the first part of that discussion, there was a lot of talk about teeth and root canals. In the comments, one was left by a lady called Shana, and I'd like to read that comment to you and then tell you what happened next. So she said, "I'm so glad you guys are talking about teeth and especially root canals. I didn't know I had a root canal for 42 years. I thought it was a dental crown. I was chronically ill my whole life and tried every form of healing you can imagine. I also had all my mercury amalgam fillings replaced. Finally, the root canal tooth got so infected that I found out what it was and I had it pulled. I had spent my whole adult life being poisoned by a dead, toxic, mercury-filled tooth, even after going to a supposedly holistic dentist. In the last few years, I'm finally starting to feel really well. Also, I want to mention that it is best to find someone who will clean out whatever root material might be left after a tooth is extracted, because that material can continue to harbor toxic bacteria." Well, when I read that message, I sent her a reply straight away, and then I asked her a question if she would be willing to have a discussion with me that I could record and share back with you so that hopefully it could possibly save someone else in a similar position, some suffering and some time, and she very graciously agreed. So I called her earlier on this evening and recorded a conversation we had, and I'm going to play that next for you. Now, I hope you can find something in there that is useful to you. It's a very, very, really an interesting story, and fair play that she took it upon herself to figure out what was wrong, because when it comes down to it, that's what I believe we all have to do, because we are responsible for our own health and we are the only ones who can do it. Now, we can search out the expertise, the knowledge, the wisdom, the individuals, the people that we need to help us. But when it comes down to it, we have to take charge of that operation. At least that's what I believe. So without further ado, you guys are amazing, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion I had with Shana, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Anyway, so what happened with you that you were sick for so long and didn't realize what was going on?
Yeah, okay. So when I was 18, I had a bicycle accident
Mm-hmm.
and I chipped the 3 front teeth
Mm-hmm.
and I got crowns. And I thought, okay, fine, no problem. So 4 years later, I start feeling sick all the time. I'm like, so I had chronic fatigue, I
Mm-hmm.
had chronic diarrhea,
Mm-hmm.
I had fog, you know, and I start going to doctors. You know how it is, right? Go to
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And I tried homeopathy, naturopathy, acupuncture, every diet you can imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Herbs. Uh, I was told that I had hepatitis C,
Mm-hmm.
and I eventually took the medicine for that, and that nearly killed me.
Oh gosh.
I don't recommend that to anybody. Of course, now I know that viruses don't, you know,
Yeah,
that's not what viruses do, right? Yeah.
that's right.
Now I know. um, and I had all the mercury fillings taken out of my mouth and replaced with the white
Mm-hmm.
fillings, the
Mm-hmm.
composite. And okay, so 4 years ago, I realized that I had a bad taste in my mouth all the time. Like it was metallic, it was salty, it was kind of
So hang on a sec. So
sickly.
how long had you been sick for?
Oh, well, I started getting sick when I was around 22.
Okay.
And it would fluctuate. Like I would, some
Mm-hmm.
years were good years, and some years I was like, dragging myself up the stairs, one step at a time.
Mm.
When I was 30, not
Yeah.
not very old, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't know why. I just and I, some of the natural healers that I went to were
Mm-hmm.
very good.
Yeah.
The homeopath was good. The guy who did acupuncture was wonderful, and they'd give me a boost, and I'd be good for a year, two
Yeah.
years maybe, and then I would start to kind of
Oh
go
gosh.
downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, uh, yeah. So that was a long time of not being well.
Mm-hmm.
Never consistently well.
Mm-hmm.
and very expensive, going to all these
Yeah.
naturopaths and homeopaths and
Yeah.
all that. So anyway, after I got all my mercury fillings replaced.
By the way, isn't it strange they think the mouth is a really good place to store a poisonous metal?
Yeah, like, oh, really? We're all mad as hatters,
Well, really? Yeah, that's where that came from.
I'm sure, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a total tin hatter. I totally think now that everything's done on purpose. Oh, if I'd known, right?
Yeah.
The things that I know now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had all taken out.
Yeah.
But the guy that I went to get the mercury taken out, he never said, oh, by the way, you've got a root canal. Nobody ever told me I had a root canal. I actually didn't know I had a root canal.
Really?
I did not know.
Wow.
They said, yeah, you got crowns. Get your crowns replaced if you want. It's expensive. And I had metal, porcelain fused to metal. And so then I started doing the research. What's porcelain fused to metal? Well, do you know what they've got in there? Nickel. Nickel's
What?
good, eh?
Nickel.
Nickel.
That's also not a good thing to have inside you.
Yeah, it's also carcinogenic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, I've had this carcinogenic material in my mouth for, I don't know, 40 years or something like that.
Gosh.
Yeah, I was starting to get a little nervous about it.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, and then you said moving on that you had a strange taste in your mouth.
Yeah, so it was metallic,
Mm-hmm.
it was salty, and it was this sort of sickly sweet taste. And so I started going to dentists, and I found out I had a root canal. So then I started doing research, right? And I found Weston Price on the internet.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, that book changed everything I thought about so many things. I remember reading it going, why have I never read this before?
Yeah. How come I haven't heard about this?
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Hmm.
So then I realized this is not good. And I went to all these dentists. I went to 5 dentists over 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And I went to these ordinary dentists, and they said, there's nothing wrong with your root canal. It's perfectly fine. Okay, so,
But that's how they're trained. That is the model they've been trained in so that they can do what they do, because I suspect if many of them really knew what was going on with them, they wouldn't do them anymore.
Probably. I think that the ones that really are trying to do the right thing would stop.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good people out there.
There are.
So, yeah. So by then I had the gum above my root canal was turning gray, and I had chronic. My nose was running all the time.
Okay, so you're having sinus trouble.
I was having sinus trouble.
Yeah.
I had pain going from my upper lip, or my gum, shooting through my nose and into my head.
How did you function?
I didn't.
Okay.
I was like, I'm not functioning. Well, I took painkiller to go to sleep.
Right.
And then I suffered during the day.
Yeah.
And I was going to all these dentists. They're saying there's nothing wrong with you. The root canal's fine.
Maybe someone could explain that to what's happening inside me then.
Yeah, how come I'm in pain and there's this,
Yeah.
That it's gray,
Yeah, that's not a good size. It's not a good color, is it?
No, I'm looking at my gum going, it's supposed to be gray, is it? So anyway, finally I find this holistic dentist. And he's like, yeah, that could be a problem. That could be what's causing the problem. We could pull it out. And so I got them to pull it out, and I had a partial denture for a little while, and then I got crown, a bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and no metal. Like, so I have no metal in my mouth. I'm metal free.
Mm-hmm.
And but they didn't clean out the periodontal ligament.
Right.
So this is when I went back to reading Weston Price and going, oh, they should have taken out the periodontal ligament,
Yes.
really.
Yeah.
But what happened was, in the end, I had now I have that was a few years ago. So I have no more salty taste in my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
no more metallic taste in my mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a little tiny bit of that sweetness that I'm not supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to dentist number 5. Dentist number 5. So I go all the way to Vancouver. I think I stayed in the youth hostel at that time. I went to this dentist and I said, do I have a cavitation? And he did the 3D scan, the cone beam scan.
Don't know.
He said, yeah, that's what they do to find out if you have, like, what a cavitation is?
No.
It's like it's a little tiny empty space
Right.
underneath the gum,
Mm-hmm.
so it's closed. There's nothing, it's completely enclosed by, gum and,
Mm-hmm.
and in your mouth.
Mm.
So he said, well, you have a little teeny tiny cavitation. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to leave it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
tired of messing with my mouth. I'm just going to
Yeah.
see what happens. Maybe it'll heal from the inside.
Yeah.
So that was, I guess, a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been in much better health, like
Mm-hmm.
much better health. Like, I hike, I ski, I
All the things you haven't been able to do for 40 years then.
yeah, all those wonderful things that I really loved, when I was young.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's I'm healthier now than I was when I was 30, and I'll be 63 this year.
Isn't that interesting that something that it's only fairly recent I've really started to wrap my head around dentistry. I had some awareness of it, and it was only when I started to read the work of Dr. Jerry Tennant and really start to look at it and say, well, these sit on the electrical meridians of the body, and that when you have a sickness, you can tie it down to a particular tooth. And it worked out it was to do with voltage. And of course, if you have metal in your mouth, that's going to do all sorts of crazy things to the circuitry, which it sounds like exactly what was happening to you, probably.
Yeah, I think so. And plus, having something dead in your mouth is
Yes, that's never a good.
yeah,
They're the only industry in the world that say that's dead. We'll leave it there.
yeah, it's dead. Everything else, if it's dead, they take it out, right? Gangrene, take it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was offered recently when I went to have a tooth extracted, and she said, "Well, there's a lot of problems there. We could just do a root canal." I went, "You don't want to give me cancer. I don't want you to give me cancer anyway. So just we'll remove it, please."
Yeah, take it out. Get
Yeah.
rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, if it's important, you could get a bridge, which is
Yeah.
what I got. And then I could have left a hole there, but
It's the fronts are tricky.
vanity one. Vanity one.
So
And that's the hole that I don't want to be toothless yet.
you're too young for that.
Wait a few years.
Man, it sounds like you've got a new lease of life as well. It must be amazing to have your energy back and be able to do things that you just had no energy to do before.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. And I think I still have probably and some detoxing to do. Like, I probably, I had one more thing I want to add.
Mm.
In those days, they put mercury in the root canal. So they'd clean out the root. They'd, drill out the root, and then they'd fill it with the mercury, And so, so I just stuck full of mercury. Everything has mercury, everything,
Yeah.
I know, not anymore. they don't do that anymore. I think they
Yeah.
use porcelain or something that's not.
Putty, I think I heard it was last time someone mentioned it to me. I don't know what it is, but it's still, as far as I can tell from what I've read and the effects it's having on people, it's probably not the best course of action.
It's still a dead
Yeah.
thing.
It is, yeah.
In your
Yeah, and dead things start to rot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They do.
and that causes all sorts of problems.
Yeah, I highly recommend getting it removed.
That's certainly the message I'm getting from people now is just it's better out. And that's why I did that, because I was starting to notice some things, tracked it back. And I thought, that's right around that tooth I've been having problems with for years and years and years. Pop the tooth out within a week. I'm like, everything just feels so much better.
Yeah, it's amazing. Teeth are very important.
They're circuit breakers, aren't they?
Well, I actually don't know that much about them other than my own personal experience.
Yeah. Well, that's absolutely fantastic. And thank you so much for sharing that story, because I'm sure other people will like to hear it, because there must be a lot of people out there that are terribly sick, that if they could trace it back to a root canal, it might be something they want to explore as well, rather than suffering like you had to for 4 decades plus.
Yeah, it was a long time. I didn't know what was going on.
But well done for figuring it out.
It had to happen, and you know, it was obvious. At the end, it was very obvious that this was not a good thing, and it had to get fixed.
Yeah.
So things are good now.
Well done you, and well done for taking responsibility. That's one of the things that, you know, the channel's really become about lately, is people, you can look after yourself and you can find your way. Keep asking the questions, keep searching, and as much as you go looking for it, it'll come looking for you in the end.
Yeah, I think so too, and I totally agree. Being responsible for your life, your health, everything. Is the way. Really, and I love your channel.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
Learned a lot. I take 4x in my tea every morning.
Well done. I do every day as well. We've got some good guests coming on as well. I've got another talk with Tom next week, which will be nice.
He's really.
We seem to be able to have some really good conversations here now, which is wonderful.
Yeah, you guys really click, and it's wonderful to watch.
Thank you. And the one I did with Amanda Vollmer the other night was very good as well.
I don't know if I've seen that one, but I'll check it out.
It's long, It's 2 hours and 5 minutes, I think. Yeah,
I've seen her being interviewed by other people, and she's really interesting.
Yeah, well, we had a very, very deep conversation that went into a lot of different areas. And also, if you want to just listen to it, it's a podcast as well now, so you can just capture the audio.
Oh, that's handy if I'm driving. And
yeah, well, if you go to the new website, which is fortheloveoftruth.co.uk, and then click on podcast, you'll find them all in there. And you can go into the blog and you'll find the individual thing, which will link to all the videos. It has all the show notes, the bios, the links, everything, and the link to the podcast, and you can download it from there.
Okay, well, that's cool. I'll check it out.
Good. Well, thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate it. I will put together something from this and pop it up, and then we can share it with people.
Yeah, and I'm glad if I can help somebody, you know, with health issues.
Yeah.
And canals.
Yeah.
You know, that would be good.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, and enjoy yourself, and don't get too cold.
Okay, thank you.
Take care then. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.